The sun dipped low over the serene expanse of Willow Creek, casting golden streaks across the river that wound through the suburban enclave of River Vy, EW Heights. For Clara Hensley, a seasoned National Historical Preservation officer, this quiet neighborhood promised a respite from years of relentless travel old towns, dusty archives, and endless negotiations with local councils to protect America's fading landmarks. She'd spent decades safeguarding crumbling forts and grand estates, her life a blur of hotel rooms and airplane seats. Now, at 48, she craved a home, a place to plant roots. River Vy, EW Heights, with its tidy lawns and charming uniformity, seemed the perfect haven. The real estate listing had glowed with promises: peaceful streets, a tight-knit community, and a quaint riverside park. Clara imagined sipping coffee on her porch, blending in as just another resident, her high-stakes career a secret tucked neatly away. She had no inkling that a brewing storm centered on a power-hungry HOA official would soon drag her expertise into a fierce personal battle. Clara's first days in River Vy, EW Heights were deceptively calm. Neighbors waved as she unpacked boxes in her cozy two-story on Elmwood Lane, their smiles warm but fleeting. The neighborhood hummed with order-matching mailboxes, hedges trimmed to perfection, a palpable sense of rules etched into the very air. She overheard snippets of chatter about the Homeowners Association, a group led by a formidable woman named Diane Voss. Behind her back, they called her the Empress, a nod to her imperious demeanor and penchant for micromanaging. Clara shrugged it off. After wrangling city officials and developers over multi-million-dollar heritage sites, a suburban HOA felt like small potatoes. She planned to keep her head down, letting folks see her as Clara, the unassuming newcomer, not Clara Hensley, the federal officer who could halt construction projects with a single phone call. Her illusion of peace shattered a week later when Diane appeared at her door, a thick binder labeled Saw River Vy, EW Heights Covenant, saw clutched in her manicured hands. She wore a crisp blazer despite the muggy August heat, her sharp eyes scanning Clara like a hawk sizing up prey. "Welcome to the neighborhood," Diane began, her tone clipped. "I'm here to ensure you understand our standards. Property values depend on compliance landscaping, exterior colors, even your BH VY, or we don't tolerate deviations." She thrust a stack of forms at Clara, demanding signatures by week's end. Clara nodded politely, masking her amusement. She'd faced down corporate lawyers. Diane's authoritarian spiel barely registered. "I'll look them over," she said with a smile, closing the door as Diane's stiff nod signaled retreat. Clara tossed the binder on her kitchen counter, figuring it was just suburban bluster. She couldn't have been more wrong. It wasn't until her second week that Clara stumbled upon the heart of the brewing conflict. Exploring the neighborhood on a crisp morning walk, she found a small park nestled along the Riviera, hidden gem of history she hadn't expected. Weathered bronze plaques gleamed faintly in the sunlight, recounting the tale of River Vy, EU's first settlers from the early 1800s. A stone archway, its edges softened by time, stood sentinel over a winding path. At the park's center rose a statue of Eleanor Grayson, the town's founding matriarch, her bronze gaze fixed on the horizon. Clara's preservationist soul stirred. These weren't national treasures, but they pulsed with local significance anchors of identity for a community that held an annual festival in their honor. She snapped photos, her mind already cataloging their historical weight, when a neighbor's voice broke her reverie. "You new, aren't you? Mrs. Edith Granger," a wiry woman in her 70s, approached with a thermos of tea. Her eyes twinkled with mischief. "Those monuments mean everything to us. My great-great-grandmother knew Eleanor Grayson herself. But watch out, Diane's got plans that'll turn this park into a parking lot." Clara frowned, listening as Edith spilled the rumors. Diane, the HOA's iron-fisted leader, was pushing a commercial development, a sprawling retail plaza with chain stores and neon signs. The catch? The park's land, owned by the HOA, was the prime target. She says it'll boost property values. Edith scoffed, but she's blind to what we'd lose. Those plaques? The arch? Gone. She calls them eyesores. Claire's stomach tightened. She'd seen this playbook before, greedy officials trading heritage for profit. But here, in her own backyard, the stakes felt personal. Over the next few days, whispers turned to Evy Denke. Mr. Tom Hargrove, a gruff retiree with a penchant for eavesdropping, confirmed Edith's tale. Her Diane's been cozying up to some big-shot developer. They're eyeing a grocery chain or maybe a strip mall. Need the park for parking space. Clara's professional instincts flared. If the monuments held documented significance, demolition could violate state preservation laws or at least trigger a re-VYEW. But River VYEU's treasures weren't on any official registry. Without formal protection, an aggressive HOA could raise them before anyone intervened. She decided to stay discreet, posing as a concerned resident while digging deeper. If Diane sniffed out her true identity, she might accelerate the plan or bury the Evy Denke. Clara needed time and allies. The tension escalated at an HOA meeting 2 weeks later. Diane strode to the podium, her voice dripping with certainty. River VYEW Heights must modernize. This retail center will bring jobs, revenue, and value. The park's relics are crumbling liabilities useless to anyone but sentimental fools. A murmur rippled through the room. Edith stood, her frail frame trembling with defiance. That statue's my family's legacy. You can't erase it for some soulless store. Diane smirked. We'll put a plaque in the mall if it means that much to you. Progress trumps nostalgia. She introduced a motion to clear the park's defunct structures for development, tabling it for a vote in 30 days. Clara watched, heart pounding. Diane's arrogance mirrored every developer she'd ever thwarted. This wasn't just a local spat, it was a microcosm of her life's work. Clara's first move was research. She slipped into the River VYEW Historical Society's cramped downtown office, poring over yellowed records. The park's story unfolded. Eleanor Grayson had brokered peace with indigenous tribes in 1812, securing the valley for settlement. The archway marked a trade route, its stones quarried by the first families. A faded ledger hinted at Underground Railroad's safe houses nearby, tying the site to a broader American saga. These weren't mere decorations, they were threads in a cultural tapestry. Clara knew the state could issue a preservation hold if she proved their worth, but the process was slow. Diane's bulldozers might strike first. She called a colleague at the State Historic Preservation Office, keeping her tone casual. Hypothetical question: what stops an HOA from demolishing a potentially historic site? He chuckled. Evy Denke and a fast petition. Got something cooking. She hedged. Maybe. Back in River VYEW Heights, Diane's campaign intensified. She hosted closed-door meetings with the developer, dodging neighbors' demands for transparency. A glossy flyer landed in mailboxes, touting tax breaks and upgraded amenities if residents surrendered the park. Don't let our neighborhood stagnate, it warned. Many balked, but Diane's tactics veiled threats about plummeting home values sowed doubt. Edith confided in Clara over tea, her voice cracking. My grandkids play under that arch. If it's gone, what ties them to this place? Clara squeezed her hand. We'll fight this. She organized a community forum at the library, billing it as a heritage and future talk. Dozens showed some curious, others furious. Edith shared her family's story, tears glistening. Tom recounted boyhood summers racing around the statue. Clara spoke last, still cloaking her title, outlining how preservation could coexist with growth. The room buzzed with resolve. That night, an anti-demolition petition began circulating. Diane struck back. On the HOA website, she branded Clara's forum hysterical fear-mongering and the monument's rotting junk. Property values demand progress, she wrote. The battle lines hardened. Clara quietly urged the city council to delay developer permits, citing the park's uncertain status. They sympathized but noted the HOA's land, rights-only estate hold could stop Diane. So Clara enlisted Edith to co-file an emergency request, leveraging her lineage. The state needed hard proof, and Clara had it. Photos, records, testimonies. She just prayed it'd be enough and fast. Then Diane uncovered Clara's secret. A leaked email from a city clerk mentioned Officer Hensley of the National Historical Preservation Office. Furious, Diane confronted her at the next HOA meeting. "I know who you are," she bellowed, jabbing a finger. "You're here to sabotage us with your bureaucratic nonsense." Gasps filled the room. Clara stood, calm but firm. "I'm with the Preservation Office, yes. I hope we'd solve this locally, balancing heritage and needs. But if you threaten history, I'll use every tool I have." Diane raged. "This is our land. You can't dictate to us." Clara smiled thinly. Heritage laws disagree when culture's at stake. The meeting dissolved in chaos, neighbors whispering. Edith murmured, "She's scared now. Watch your back." Days later, the crisis peaked. Clara awoke to a rumble bulldozers at the park, blades glinting. She raced over with Edith, heart hammering. The statue of Eleanor Grayson loomed mere feet from the machines. A foreman shrugged. HOA said, "Clear the obstacles." "Permits coming." Clara flashed her federal ID. "This site's under RE-VYEW. Move now, and you risk felony charges." Edith chimed in, voice steady. "State's got a hold pending. You'll answer for it." The foreman faltered, phoning his boss. Diane screeched onto the scene. "Keep going. It's ours." But the contractor, sensing legal quicksand, ordered a retreat. Diane's face twisted with fury. "You'll pay for this, Hensley," she spat, storming off. Edith clutched Clara's arm, whispering, "We held the line." Victory came swiftly. The state re-VYEU'd Edith's EVY Denke and Clara's dossier, issuing a temporary preservation hold. No demolition could proceed until a full assessment. The city enforced it, stalling Diane's permits. Local news exploded. River VYEW Park saved by preservation order. Edith's tearful inter-VYEW about her heritage aired alongside Clara's measured praise for the state's action. The developer, spooked by lawsuits and PR fallout, backed off. Diane's allies dwindled. At the next HOA meeting, Edith read the state's decree aloud. Diane's protests, "We never ceded our rights," fell flat. The board, exhausted by her recklessness, voted her off the development committee. She stormed out, defeated. Diane fought to the bitter end, filing a lawsuit claiming the hold overstepped. Clara's national office crushed it, presenting ironclad EVY Denke of the site's worth. The judge upheld the state, dismissing Diane's case and saddling her with fees. Neighbors turned on her, a recall vote looming. She lashed out in a final HOA memo, decrying Clara as an elitist outsider and the park as trash. But the tide had turned. At a packed meeting, the recall passed overwhelmingly. Cheers erupted as Diane's reign ended. She sold her house weeks later, vanishing from River VYEW Heights like a bad dream. The park thrived. Historians confirmed its ties to the Underground Railroad and Eleanor Grayson's legacy, earning it a permanent historical designation. A ceremony unveiled new markers, Clara and Edith beaming as cameras flashed. The HOA, under fresh leadership, embraced the site, adding benches and signs. Festivals bloomed, drawing tourists to River VYEU's reborn heart. Clara, once seeking quiet, found purpose in her backyard triumph. Each time she passed Eleanor's statue, she felt a quiet thrill not just for VYing history, but for forging a community stronger than ever. Diane's folly had ignited a legacy that would endure for generations. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this VY Deo with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next VY Deo.